this week, I was working on a new feature for our application. So we have a product that's a basically autonomous agent for managers. So we have a dashboard that you can see meetings upcoming and follow-ups, contacts. One of the things we recently added was the ability to actually have a vibe codable plugin. So you can go in here and you can define, show me all of the blockers compilation remaining for the Phoenix project launch. And I think there's seed data that should show some information here. So the way this is working is there's a front-end component, obviously, that takes in a prompt on the back end. Our memory agent, it's got a slightly different system prompt, has access to the same tools that you give the assistant, whose name's Ari. So you can connect it. This is a dev instance, so you can connect to Google and Slack and all the same reporting information that the autonomous agent has. So it has an endpoint that takes a JSON schema. So when I just put that prompt in there, it built a view component and also defined a JSON schema that props that component. And then those props go to an endpoint that has an element behind it that just a structured output, and it does a few rounds of tool calls to generate the output. So if there's...
sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
So do you have a DSL that you're taking that structured output and then it has meaning in your system?
Well, it has access. So we got system prompt. Yeah, the system prompt in here. Let me see. That's going to be. I should have a link to it in here. Go to.
Let me take you off track.
No, we can dive into that.
Understand when you put that in, what was happening.
Well, I can start here and then we can dive into the code more. But like there's so we're sending a post request to the API endpoint that's called dynamic tiles. Then that might be the wrong sequence diagram actually. Just know it's in here somewhere. Let me.
Don't let me take you off track. Sure.
No, it's. There we go. For some reason, I forget the file name that it's in, but I think it's linked. I think this is the source down here.
So you're turning it into whatever dynamic tile accepts, right?
Yeah. So the contract that gets created it's a JSON schema definition that's stored in the database. So that gets stored in the database. Along with and that's basically, so you put the prompt in here in the front end. So I'm going to give it, if you guys have any requests, I mean, there's some information I can just.
So like tell us about like the meetings today or something?
Yeah, like, list all of the meetings I have coming up this week. That information is actually below here, but we could enter that in here. So this is going to be sent to an element on the back end, and it's going to respond with view code and a JSON schema. And then it's going to go through a few iterations. So it's not showing anything right now, but there's an example of what it would show for some upcoming deadlines. And it's going to use the browser sandbox to test with. So it's going to make the request to fulfill that like JSON schema contract. So it's going to try to basically if it's a list of follow-ups or to-do items, it's going to generate that, run a sample call, and then it's going to send that to the front end, and it'll basically use the browser as a sandbox, and it's tapping it in an iframe. So it'll pass that into the component, and it's running through a loop to repair the component until it doesn't have any errors when it renders the view component. So if the view component throws an error, then it'll generate that again. Does that make sense? Does that answer the question?
Yeah.
Okay. But I think that right now, a lot of what it's doing, I mean, these are helpful. And there's also, you can go back to here's another example view, or it'll give you, summary and a ticket kind of count at the top here.
So the idea would be you can ask the thing, be like, okay, my team has all this stuff this week. What are the expected outcomes, assuming all meetings are successful this week or something? Assuming that they properly filled out the meetings and things like that. You could effectively say, send your boss or your manager, this is everything we expect to do during the week. Once you.
Yeah. If I I don't have the seed data, but you could say list out all the decisions that I need to make based on my meeting notes this week. And I haven't populated this dev database with enough seed information probably for those. There's meeting notes, but it's there's not a lot of information in there. But what it's doing right now is it's, like I said, generating that contract, the JSON schema contract, and also generating a view component. And it's not going to show it to you until it's basically proven to itself that it renders without errors. It's a pretty simple check. That was probably the main hurdle was just Claude's pretty good at writing view components, but it has to do it a few times to be reliable. Yeah, what's your question?
So when I'm writing these visualizations and stuff like that, a tool that I typically use a lot is ESLint, because I have a particular style and it's visual, and I can encode how I'd like that to look with ESLint. Are you doing any linting or anything after the generation to make sure it conforms to a specific style? Or?
No, there's no linting. It's just making sure that it renders without errors.
Would you be interested in that or not?
Absolutely, yeah. There's to do this well. There is you could use dependency injection and module federation and micro front ends. You could build there's a lot of I think you're right. That's the direction you should go in with this. I have not even looked at a single view component. I got the code that's generated because it gets actually stored on a Postgres database in a cell. I think I maybe looked at the code for one of those when I was first iterating, but most of the time. Looks like this one was challenging. I wonder if it doesn't have data for it, so that might be cause some issues.
You're generating a throwaway component, right? That component's just going to be viewed, and then the next chat, they'll generate a whole new component.
It persists, so it's loaded. So there's nothing in the notes here.
GUI, essentially, prompts your component.
Yes.
So you're putting in a prompt, and you can edit the prompt, which edits the component. So
Yep. Yes, this is the example one here is a bit more detailed, but if I reload, it's going to show me the same thing.
Are all the prompts, are all the UI components dynamic, they're all being generated as, or do you have templates of different types of components that you prompt? You can generate one of these 5 different types of components.
That is the direction I think we'll move towards. Is these components down here would also be prompts. You could click on them and you could flip it around and see kind of the source behind the component, and you could rearrange them too. But I think there's a really interesting potential for these hybrid hybrid SaaS. It's half vibe coded with dependency injection, and then you have a lot of flexibility, but yet there's still the non-engineers are not running the show, right? There's been some guardrails set up with ESLint and other kinds of tools. Yeah, if you've done a lot of dependency injection, I think that's where I want to move more towards is having it situated within a more robust dependency injection kind of framework. Because right now,
pin this and have another one come up and create another component, pin it.
Yeah.
The workflow you're looking
So all of these would be flippable and customizable via prompts. Yeah. Okay.
Any code you wanted to show?
Well, yeah. I mean, we can. Yeah.
What was the QR code?
The QR code is to submit to speak at the next
Oh, okay.
next one.
Alright.
But I'll show. Yeah. We can walk through the. So I have the. I mean, it's basically what we walk through. So it goes through a series of repair steps. I think it's like it'll go through a total of six rounds, but it'll take one generation and it'll try to iterate on that one generation 3 times. And if that fails, it tries to generate from scratch again. And so it'll try 2 from scratch iterations.
What does you consider like a fail? Like, how are your criteria? Like, just it doesn't render, or
That right now if the component throws an error, so this is like right now that's the criteria. But eventually there's other criteria that we could add. Like it's not interactive right now, so like there's no state for this first attempt. It's just static props. So if you try to be like, hey, make it so I can check off these items, it's not going to do that yet. But once we do that, we'll have more robust testing. I'll take one more question. Yeah.
So, and where is this rendering? Is this are you using Next or something? Like, how do you know that this is rendered? Are you spinning up a whole browser?
It's so
Just types?
it happens inside of an iframe. So it happens so the browser is the sandbox for for testing it, and then that browser just has no origin, and then that's why we also don't want someone to
Make a component that destroys all other components on the page.
Yeah. I mean, it's unlikely to be like cross-site scripting kind of vulnerability because it's a lock-on application. But it's isolated right now. So if it crashes, it's trapped inside an iframe.
It's really clever.
Yeah. So okay, I'll answer questions afterwards. But thank you. Thanks. And then next up we have Mike, who's going to talk about the silent note taker, which should be really cool.